Hello YouTubers, my name is X Factor and welcome back to some Battlefield 4 Tanker Tuesday. It's been a while, right? Well, I had a vacation and Battlefield Hardline launched, and then I got sick with the man flu, paired up with some wonderful asthma, which basically means I can't stop coughing or breathe properly. So that kind of makes commentating impossible. So we skipped a couple episodes. I am sorry, I apologize, and we got some hot conquest coming for you over the next couple weeks. Got quite a few rounds for you. This one is actually in the community map project. This is the CTE map, the one that we've been building along with the developers over at DICE LA, the CTE devs. And there's not going to be cover on this map because they haven't really started that. They sprinkled some trees in here. They've kind of thrown some stuff on some of these flags, and obviously C's got this kick-ass ghost town, which still needs a lot of work. So the developers are looking for feedback on this map, and they don't want feedback on the cover because they haven't even attempted to do cover yet. What they're looking for is scale. Is the map too big? Is it too long? Is it too wide? Is it too linear? What about the distance between flags? The good thing about this map is very infantry-centered. There's a ton of ATVs and, of course, Jeeps and dirt bikes. So I've got to worry about that being laden with C4. And it's very quick to travel on, and people can leak very, very easily because there's quite a few lanes. The other thing that we found out that I asked before was, hey, how do spawn beacons work? Do you parachute in? Because there's this big sniper hill to my right that you guys will see by sea, which absolutely could be a nightmare. And the good news is this: they've disabled the parachute portion of the beacon, like they have for a lot of maps that they've tweaked, basically, whether it's Conquest or Rush. And because there's no cover, it's often like shooting fish in a barrel, and they just had the topography to play off of. And that's another thing that developers are looking for feedback on, is actual topography. Is there a spot of the map that just doesn't play right with the topography? The hills, the little valleys, and of course the very, very shallow rivers. But you gotta be careful. There are a couple deep spots which will root you from your vehicle, your tank, or your Jeep, and more than likely you're simply not gonna get it back. So keep all that in mind. There will be a post down below so you guys can give feedback on this CT map, because this is the first gameplay that I've kind of featured. Played some with some infantry, and there's a frictionless man in the background, and had a lot of fun. And since there is no cover, that means I'm going to be subject to basically straws and javelins for days. And of course, I got lucky enough to get one of those gunners that ate his rep tool because he's a medic. So you got to keep an eye on these leakers. So I had a lot of fun playing this map on live stream last week. We played 4 or 5 or 6 rounds and just absolutely had a blast. And there's quite a few different lanes that you guys can push on. It's not super linear, something like Bazaar or San or Metro, where there's just 1 or 2 or 3 lanes at specific spots. Thanks to all this topography, there's 3, 4, 5, or 6 lanes depending on what part of the map you're at, and there's just enough cover to keep your piece of armor or your clump of infantry kind of protected, but you can't stray too far away from that cover. So it'll be interesting to see the next iteration of this map, what they do with the cover. And it's not just going to be trees and the dense jungle that they're talking about. They're going to try to make this as dense as possible, but there's going to be barricades and wood piles and all kinds of stuff in between, hopefully, because it's not just going to be a bunch of sniper camper hills, because you're just simply not going to have those lines of sights. So I have to worry about my flank right now, and I'm going to back up to give my gunner an angle and myself an angle. It's not something you want to play close. A piece of cover like that, you don't want to drive close to. What if an engineer or support or recon spawn there and they've got an RPG, or even worse, they've got C4, quick throw one out, it disables me, the other guy throws one, I'm dead. I do that all the time, and I showcase that on the channel. I simply throw one piece of C4 if the tank is moving, because if you get a good enough shot, it's disabled, it can't move anywhere, it's crawling, you simply can get that other one, and there's a burning C4 attached bike more than likely, or somebody else can clean up your mess. In Battlefield 4, it's all about being a team effort to take care of vehicles, and just like that, my gimme flag is flashing. What's my gimme flag? The one closest to my deployment, the one that we should have 99.9% of the time, as he gets banged out through the tin. The destruction on this map, as that bike goes back to his people, is pretty darn good. The ghost town is ridiculous. You can one-bang the buildings, the shanties, so we'll see if that changes. But it kind of has this Bad Company 2 Laguna Presa feel to it, which obviously I was in love with 5 or 6 or 7 Bad Company 2 maps. I talk about that a lot when we're talking about these old-school Battlefield maps that are coming back in a future DLC. This is not part of that DLC, as we get a little splash through a tin again, and we're shooting with the HMD through that tin. Is that there's going to be 4 maps coming back, and they're probably going to dig out a couple Battlefield 2 bangers. Hopefully they give me some Bad Company 2 bangers. Maybe we'll get a little Battlefield 3 flavor. I don't know how far they're going to go back. But a lot of those Bad Company 2 maps were just awesome for having one LEV, one vehicle, and just tons and tons of infantry. And this is 64 players. We had it full for the most part throughout the day, and it played pretty fluidly, primarily because there's multiple lanes and all this topography and cover between these various lanes. It's not like Propaganda where there's just 3 lanes you really need to worry about. You can simply shut down the map. There's a lot of sneaky beaky action going on, including stuff like that where the Jeeps are trying to reach around. As I dust and flip that Jeep, do no damage, but the end result is still good. So it's something you have to keep in mind when you're playing this and the developers start to add cover, which is going to complicate things even more. The one thing about this map that makes it tough for tanks is all of the rolling hills. It's enough to throw out your shot, as that guy is having a little bit of a problem with his internets as we hit this ghost town. This is by far my favorite spot to play. And you want destruction, baby? You got it. These are just placeholder buildings right now as we're working on their tank pillaring as we shoot through the Dr. Seuss tree, and we're going to hit another, more than likely, C4-laden derp bike, and I simply have to get out of town because our gimme's flashing. And thanks to the people in my squad and my team who gave me a spot rep here or there as we see some spawn beacon action, because again, TomTom swallowed his old rep tool. So back to the ghost town, which is a lot of fun, and you can one-bang any building. As Patrick Bach would say, it's magic. And we had a lot of fun with that. And obviously, you have this wonderful line of sight because there is no cover except for those buildings. So anybody that's in there, it's going to be one of those things where it's like an ostrich putting their head in the sand. They don't think anybody sees them. Then you blow on the building, and it all comes falling down. And we're going to have one last interaction with the tank as we knocked it down earlier. Which you guys didn't see that because I cut it out, and just a little bit of that AP shell across the map, trying to hone in the drop in the lead with the HMG. What do you guys think about how this map plays? Have you had the opportunity to get your hands on it and get some infantry or vehicle gameplay in? What are your thoughts? Remember, it's all about the topography, the terrain, and the scale of the actual map and the distances between the flags. Let your voice be heard. I will provide a link down below to the Reddit thread where the developers are reading them and interacting with the community multiple times a day. Remember, this is as much as our deal as it is their deal. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this week's Tanker Tuesday. Don't worry, there will be more hot conquest action coming up next week. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Tank Spank.